Hey everyone, welcome to a new video. I'm a little exposed today. In today's video, I thought it would be fun if we could plant up some tulip bulbs as well as some hyacinth bulbs. Tulips is something I don't think I've ever seen grown here in San Antonio. And there's a few reasons why that could be. I know like we just don't get a long enough cold period for things like this to perform well. So I thought it'd be fun this year if we can order some bulbs, try to grow them in a few different ways, see if we can have some success with it. Because I follow a lot of gardeners up in the north, and every fall they plant out like just hundreds, thousands of bulbs in their garden, and then in the spring it's just this show of color, and I think it's so beautiful. We're not going to be doing it at that scale. We're going to be doing it at a much smaller scale, but I do want to try and test this out, see if this is actually possible for places like here in San Antonio, if you can actually pull this off. So again, for today's video, we're only actually planting tulips and hyacinths, but there are a lot of other types of bulbs that we are planting in the garden this year, the home garden, that be in pots or in the landscape. We have daffodils, we have amaryllis, we have just elephant ears, lilies, stuff like that. I don't want to get into all of that in this video, but in future videos, I do want to show you guys along and show you all those other bulbs that we planted and the progress throughout the season. That way, if there's something that you like that did end up doing well for us, maybe it could be something that you incorporate into your garden if you're in a similar climate like San Antonio, the South Central Texas climate. You know, our zone is just, it's so weird. We're right like at that buffer zone where we're either too cold or we're too hot. And I hear a lot of things, especially here in San Antonio. I hear we're 8A, I hear we're 8B, I hear we're 9A, I hear we're 9B. No one seems to freaking know. I always say 8B, but you know, like this winter, I think it was a pretty warm winter. It did snow though. In Houston, it snowed quite a bit. Here in San Antonio, it snowed for like, I think it was like an inch and then it was gone. And our growing zone is just very weird. And sometimes that frustrates people because it's like, oh, something that usually does well, it died this year because it got too cold this year. You know, you kind of have to gauge your weather, and every year is going to be different. Every winter is going to be different. Every summer is going to be different. You just kind of have to gauge things, and you can't depend on things always being the same. And I actually really enjoy the fact that our growing zone is so weird because it opens up this opportunity to do weird experiments like this. Like no one grows, I don't see anyone growing tulips. I think there's a farm like a little bit more north of here, and they do grow tulips, and I'm like, how do y'all do that? Because no one else does it here except for that farm, and I forget the name of the farm. So there's going to be a lot of information on the internet, and honestly, I'm probably not even the best person to be giving information, but I think gardening doesn't have to be so strict. I think you can just kind of play around with things, follow the basic guidelines, but also test the limits. I think that's where you're gonna have the most fun, and also find a lot of successes in your garden. And when you just try things out, even if someone on the internet says don't do this, sometimes it works. And so back here, you can see it's actually really sunny. That's because this tree is dormant. Usually the garden is like, I would say about 80% shade here at the home garden. And it's really difficult to grow a lot of things that I want to grow. I like growing tropical looking things, bougainvillea, hibiscus, stuff like that. I don't have any sun, but I do test the limits on these plants. And like, again, my roses, they're in shade. My Rose of Sharon's, they're in shade. My bougainvilleas, they're in shade. They don't perform as well as they could in full sun, but I'm able to get away with it. And so I would encourage you, if you're discouraged by things you hear online, like, oh, I can't grow this because I don't have this, or I don't have this right condition or environment for the plant, test it out. See if you're able to do it. Gardening should be fun. Don't restrict yourself because of all the rules. Just have fun. I'm sure someone out there is going to be telling me not to plant tulips. I'm going to plant tulips because I want to see if I can do it. Okay, first way we're going to start. I have these containers. This is just a regular plastic container I filled with regular potting soil. And I actually have two of these, so we're going to be matching these. This is a tulip mix called Double Pink Mix. So I actually forgot what this looks like. I'll put a picture on the screen what this looks like. I think this would be beautiful in this container. And again, we have a second container that we're just gonna match. So these bulbs came from Eden Brothers, which is a really good company if you're looking for bulbs, like dahlia tubers, or even like just seeds. They sell seeds as well. These, because I ordered them 2 months ago, I actually pre-chilled these in a spare fridge that we have in the garage. Tulips, they do need a long cold period to actually get going up in the spring. And because, again, our winter was very warm this year, and even our regular winters just aren't that cold, I did pre-chill these in the fridge for about 2 months. I don't know if that's enough time, but we're gonna see if it's enough time. I'm also gonna be applying bulb tone from Espoma. I only have this little bag and it's not full anymore. I don't think it's gonna be enough for all the bulbs that we're planting today. It might be, it may be, we'll find out. So I'm just gonna be sprinkling this along the soil and mixing it in with my gloves. So this is the tulip bulb. You can see it kind of has the shape of like a Hershey's Kisses. The way you're gonna plant this, you're gonna plant the pointy side up. This is where the plant's actually gonna come up from, and then the roots are gonna come down here at the bottom. So we're just gonna be potting this up like this in the container. I'm gonna do about 4 inches deep. So because the soil's quite loose, I actually just ended up planting them about 3-4 inches deep, but I actually just ended up like pushing them down into the ground because it's quite loose soil that I was able to do that. We're gonna do the exact same here in this pot. And so that in that pot, there was only 10. I could probably fit a lot more. You can put them a lot closer together in pots. If you're planting in the landscape, I would do about, I would say about 6 inches apart. 6 inches, what is 6 inches? Yeah, 6 inches. Ay. Okay, so here, this is a different mix. I believe, I actually don't know what this is. So this is 25 bulbs, which honestly, I could fit a lot more than 25 bulbs in here if I wanted to, but this is just an experiment. This has 13 hyacinths and 12 tulips, and I believe this is like a purple mix. This one, same thing, the soil is extremely loose. So I'm just gonna be putting the biotone, that's not biotone, what's called bulb tone in here, mixing it in, and then just pushing the bulbs down into the ground, about 4 to 6 inches deep. I probably can't push it down 6 inches deep, so I'll do probably 4. But this is all I'm doing. I'm just pushing them into the ground. Boom. Easy. Okay, so we're gonna move on to the next container, but I do want to show you guys something that I did today that's kind of breaking the rules of gardening. I think it's okay because I've done this in the past and it worked. If you remember, like I think it was like the first video that we did. All these plants got moved inside at the home garden. It was when the first like freeze was coming. Basically, what I've been doing with these is I've just been moving them in and out of the garage when it gets cold. Again, this week it's 80 degrees, so they're out soaking up a little bit of sunshine, getting water, getting air. And that's kind of how I get away with growing certain things, is because I do baby them. And I understand that not everyone wants to put that much effort into their garden. Not everyone cares that much. So if you just want to grow things that are going to do well in the area, definitely stick more to like the guidelines and the rules and follow those. You know, grow those certain types of things that are definitely going to do well in San Antonio, which I wish I don't I don't have a lot of those because I don't like to grow certain things. But this is a fun thing that I did last year that I'm actually really excited to see how it's going to continue on for this year. This right here, this little stick is a bougainvillea that I trained to grow into one stem, and it actually fell. It's not tied anymore because I had to take it in the garage. So this I actually repotted today because it's quite warm and I'm not worried about it at all. Like when it gets cold again, I'll move it back in the garage if it gets cold again. But the idea is I want a bougainvillea to grow along this wall, but there's no ground here. So this does have to be in a pot. In the past, when I've kept them out in pots and I kept them out all winter long, sometimes they don't come back. And so this is one of those things that I do kind of baby. And this one I move in and out of the garage in the winter time. I'm okay with doing that. Again, I understand if you're not okay doing that, you can grow other things. But this one, I think it'd be fun if we could train it up here again, and it can resume growing right there where it can actually reach the sun, and hopefully if it'll stay. The goal is for it to climb along there and bloom beautifully like it does in Mexico. My family is from a town called San Miguel in Mexico. Beautiful bougainvilleas. We can kind of achieve the same thing here, but it does take a little bit more work. And so that's kind of what this is about. One other thing I did today, which kind of breaking the rules, I planted this standard hydrangea in this big container. So I think this is going to be a very interesting location. So we have the live oaks, and so this is actually where I'm standing right now. This is actually a very shady location. The only sun is right here. And so this took forever to climb up so that it could actually reach the sun. Now that it's at this point and it can hopefully just resume growing right there, it's going to be able to access the sun, and hopefully it just takes off the way I want it to. This is an experiment. We're going to see what happens. Because this area is also shaded, it's a very interesting area. I think this hydrangea is going to do very well where it can have enough sun to actually produce blooms, but then the house actually protects it from the really intense afternoon sun, so it's not going to get burnt or anything. So I think this is going to be a really interesting look if we pull it off with the bougainvillea and then with the hydrangea standard. So again, I know I'm kind of breaking the rules. You're not supposed to be transplanting things and planting things in the winter, but I actually think plants are a lot more resilient than what people give them credit for. Part of the reason I feel that way is just because of our tree company. Like, we move big trees, and everyone's always like, "You're not supposed to, don't do that. Like, there's no way you can do that. It's impossible." We've always had success with our trees. We rarely run into any issues planting those big trees. And I understand that these herbaceous plants are not the same as trees, but I do think people really, one, they pamper their plants, which is why they may not do so well, but also they don't give enough credit to nature and how nature is able to take care of itself. I always think about like COVID. COVID, I was in 9th grade in high school, and everything was online, but I remember the way that the earth kind of regrew itself in that short amount of time that everyone was on lockdown and there was no cars, and the earth was able to take care of itself, and all the animals were able to come back out again. I remember seeing that and just thinking, like, the earth is fine. Like, it's us. We're the ones who have the problem. Like, I don't have any worry about this hydrangea standard that I potted it up in the middle of winter, or any worry that I potted up that bougainvillea. I'm not worried at all. I think they're going to be just fine. Again, it's 80 degrees this week. If we were in a different climate, a different growing zone, a colder growing zone, of course I wouldn't have done any of this. But I think people just don't give enough credit to plants and how they're able to take care of themselves. Now, there is one thing I'm not doing while planting in the middle of winter. I didn't put any fertilizer in this for this hydrangea, or I don't even fertilize bougainvilleas anyway, so I wouldn't have put fertilizer in it. But if I was planting up something else, I wouldn't have fertilized it, because I'm not trying to encourage growth right now, even because it is still winter. We have warm winters, but it is still winter here. So I'm not trying to encourage growth. So that's why I didn't put any fertilizer for this hydrangea. Because if I was trying to encourage it to grow and then it did start to put off some growth points or anything like that, and then we got another cold snap, that would actually shock the plant and could actually kill the plant. So although I am planting things in the middle of winter in the ground, in pots, I'm being very careful about the way that I do it. I know we've spent a lot of time just at the home garden. We haven't actually really talked about the jardineria. There's still a lot of really fun things I want to do at the jardineria, but that's going to come a little bit later. I kind of pushed it off just because it was easier just to do it that way, push things off, just scheduling things wise. The jardineria is opening up in a few weeks, and once that happens, we're going to focus more on the jardineria and the plants at the jardineria and what's going on there. I still want to show you guys at the home garden what we're doing and all these fun projects and the progress, just to maybe give you guys some motivation or just some recommendations of what could do well here in San Antonio. And again, you can incorporate it in your garden. So I'm very excited for that to happen soon, because again, it's a few weeks that the jardineria is going to open back up again. And I can't wait to share it all with you guys. But for here, for the home garden, I think this is my favorite spot. This container, this little section that I just explained, I really want to see it in the summertime with the hydrangea in full bloom and the bougainvillea in full bloom. And then right here, this is where we're planting the hyacinth for spring. This is right next to my mom's window and she loves hyacinths, so I thought I'd plant up some for her. But after the hyacinths are done, I think we may do, I'm thinking some like impatiens and some creeping Jenny to come out of the side. I think it'll just be a very interesting look overall, those three like little tiers, because of how we're growing things. So down here would be the impatiens, the annual flowers with the creeping Jenny. Then it would be the limelight hydrangea. This is a limelight, right? Yeah, this is a limelight hydrangea standard, kind of that middle layer, and then that bougainvillea climbing up at the top. I think that'd be a really interesting, just interesting look. And I don't think I've ever seen that in a garden before. So I'm really curious to see if we can pull it off. Okay, so this is a hyacinth mix called Pastel Dream. So one thing I hear a lot from people when growing hyacinths is that once the plant is done blooming, the plant usually dies back and people think that they killed their hyacinth. The plant's not actually dead, that's just how they naturally are going to grow. So you've probably thrown away some perfectly good hyacinth bulbs in the past. So what I would do, once their hyacinths are done blooming in the spring, I would just leave the plant alone, allow the plant to die back, because all of that energy is gonna get reabsorbed into the bulb. You can dig up your bulbs, store them, and then plant them out again for next year. And so that's exactly what we're gonna do here in this container. We're gonna plant a little bit of a ring. Again, there's only 9 here that we're gonna be planting in this ring. And then once they're done, we'll dig them up, store them, and then that's when we'll put the other annuals in here for the rest of the year. And so that's it. That's all we're going to be doing today. That's a little experiment. Um, Again, we're going to be planting, I think my mic is on. Again, we're going to be planting some other bulbs as well. Daffodils, amaryllis. What else do we have? We have other things. I forgot. Lilies. Lilies is something that we planted. I planted a few lilies the other day. So I'm just going to end the video here. It's going to be a little bit of a shorter video. I'm gonna go to the farm, water everything. I'm gonna water everything here because, again, even though it's winter, it's San Antonio, it's warm, it's 80 degrees this week, things need water. So make sure to water your plants. Other than that, I'm gonna end the video here. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We're gonna keep doing these YouTube videos. A lot of good things with the Hyacinths coming up, the tree farm as well. So I'm really excited to share that with you guys soon. But other than that, hope you guys have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon.